All right, let's bring in the guy that's calling that game tomorrow, Matt Warner. Matt, what is up?
What's up, guys? Like, how exciting is it? I mean, we're talking about this game that doesn't even involve Liberty. Like, but it's great. This is what tournament time is all about. You're looking at the brackets, you're trying to project and all that stuff, and to have one in Liberty Arena that doesn't even involve the Flames, it's going to be a blast tomorrow.
You've been chomping at the bit to get to call some extra tournament games, huh?
I mean, so I grew up going to the Big 8 tournament, Kemper Arena, Kansas City, and like I would always think like, man, those guys are so lucky to get to sit down there and call game after game after game. How cool would that be? And this is kind of, yeah, it's not quite the same, but to get to call another game besides just Liberty. Naz and I have been talking about it for a couple of months since we realized that there was a chance for that to happen. So yeah, we're fired up.
We'll have to get Conference USA on you guys.
That would be great.
We'll be working our magic.
Yeah.
Well, Matt, we got a lot to get to, so we
Let's
better
do it.
jump to it. First off, let's just get your overall impressions of, another very successful season for Liberty.
Yeah, it's you and I know you've covered it very well, the numbers and how dominant they've been, and I think even just the numbers at home. I mean, was it in their home ASUN wins? Been by an average of over 20 points per game. Even you go back to Friday night, a game that was so close, and you said it a little bit ago, felt like they could lose in the second half, and then you look up at the end, and it's like, whoa, they won by 20. Like, it is crazy how dominant they have been at home, which makes dropping that game at Kennesaw sting a little bit more, knowing that you're not going to be able to have them in your building if it comes down to it. But I think for the most part throughout the season, the biggest takeaway I had with this Liberty team that brought back so much was it's not as much riding on Darius's shoulders, or at least doesn't feel like it throughout the course of the season. We've seen stretches here lately where maybe it seemed that way, but throughout the course of the year, it didn't feel as much like he had to do everything. And Colin Porter, like we talked about before the season even started, when I was on with you guys, he's been such a huge reason, I think, for that shift and just taking a little bit of that heat off of Darius. And even here in the last week and a half, 2 weeks, I feel like you've seen Porter become a little more assertive himself on the offensive end. And so I think that does bode well for the Flames going into the tournament if they can continue to play with that kind of style and not get in those spots where you feel like, okay, Darius, bail us out. We need you to go get 35 or 40. And so, as scary as that first half was here a couple of nights ago, Darius McGee goes scoreless, and you led at the break. Like, I don't know if last year we would have been saying that. So that's just kind of the overall, I think, thing for me with the Flames this year. It is a little bit more balanced, and I think that's a good thing.
Before we get into the individual matchups, who's like maybe the team that sticks out to you this season, maybe other than Kennesaw State, because that's probably the easy answer. They took the big leap. Who's maybe a team that stood out to you?
It's weird because like for me, Stetson's the best story in the conference, right? But I can't shake what I saw in Liberty Arena. I've seen some games, watch some games, look at the box scores, but what I saw that night, I'm like, they're not on Liberty's level. Like, what was that, like a 30-point game? So while they've been a great story, I just don't know that I totally buy into them at this point. Same with like North Alabama, who played really well here, especially in the second half of the conference season. I can't shake what I saw from them early in the year either. So it leaves me kind of like wondering like who could be a team that could make a run. Obviously, you have Eastern Kentucky that if they get hot, they're a team that could do it. Blanton is an absolute horse. Like, he's the type of guy that you could just ride through a conference tournament. But then the team that's like, and I think you would agree with me, Nick, that is just the wild card in all of this is FGCU. Like, we talked to coaches throughout the season, in the lead up to games and all. And we had coaches tell us like they're the most talented team in the league, more so than Liberty. And these coaches, like, I have no idea how they're losing so much. And now, granted, a lot of them have been close, but I mean, the Isaiah Thompson kid from Purdue, he's awesome. Anderson, Weir's a solid big man. You have Chase Johnson, who was an all-conference player last year, coming off your bench. So the talent is there. It just hasn't quite come together. I know you were tweeting it out, I think, even before the last regular season game, that, boy, you'd like to see FGCU end up in that game where they have a chance to face Kennesaw. Like, it could very well happen, or they could lose by 15. Like, you just, like, who knows with that team, but they certainly have the talent to really wreck things in this tournament.
They get boat raced by Queens.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Would not shock me at all.
But
Matt,
go ahead,
Nick. Matt, two of the three of us here are in the circle of trust, so it's okay
That's
for you to
we're
talk about
practically
this.
brothers. It's a brotherhood. Yeah.
Practically.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
What do you think it is about FGCU that they aren't putting it all together for part of the season? Because there was a minute there where it looked like they weren't even going to be in the tournament.
I
I
know.
mean,
Yeah.
does that boil down to coaching or chemistry, or what's your opinion on that?
I mean, you do have a first year head coach, so there is a little bit of that. I know before we played them, they had dealt with a lot of injuries and a lot of injuries that maybe didn't even cause guys to miss a lot of games, but have just been nagging. Chase Johnston being one of those guys. Remember, he didn't play against Liberty when we faced them. So a lot of guys have been playing through injuries based off what they've been telling me. But yeah, I mean, at some point, if guys are healthy enough to be out there and the talent is there, which we think it is, if they're not producing, you kind of have to look at coaching a little bit, and that surprises me. So yeah, maybe it's all coming together. I mean, it looks like they played pretty well. I granted it was Austin P in their final game. I think they scored 62 in the first half of that game. So we'll see if all it takes sometimes is that one little confidence boost, and you go into a tournament now where you're them and you're like, well, there's no pressure on us. Like we're the last team to get in. There's no pressure now. Let's just go play, and who knows what could happen. I mean, listen, they played Kennesaw earlier this year. They lost by 2. They were right there. So when they lost to Queens by 2, they could very well go on a run, or like I said, lose by double digits, and we all shaking our head after that game like we have been all year long.
Yeah, our friends in Vegas tend to agree. So it's not just us making this up. They have
Yeah,
the 6th best odds of anyone as the 10
yeah,
seed, and quite a bit different. And Bellarmine and North Florida, I think their odds are probably a little lower because of who they have to face in
sure.
the next game. But yeah, they're a team that it's a new season for them. They lucked out to get in here. Like
Yep.
Jacksonville lost like 9 out of 10 to end the year. And if Jacksonville had beat EKU on Saturday or Bellarmine or the game before any of those games,
No.
they're in FGCU's out. So
And don't you feel like a lot of times, certainly in the NCAA tournament, it's always that team that was like, oh, they were on the bubble. Most people are like, they shouldn't be in there. They did all that. And then that's the team. It feels like it's Syracuse every other year. That's the team that then suddenly shows up in the Sweet 16 because they're like, nobody thought we should be here or nobody thought we should win. The pressure's off, and now they're able to play at their best. So we'll see. They certainly have the talent to do it.
if VCU comes to mind, they were like
Yeah.
that team that Jay Billis and everyone was railing, and then they go to the
Yeah.
Final Four from the first 4. Real quick before we go to the tournament and the games, 2 just teams I wanted to touch on. Again, I don't care how much we talk or don't talk about them. Jacksonville, wow, what a disappointing season. They were second in KenPom to open the season preseason, and they
Yeah.
don't make the tournament. I know I think they had a ton of injuries this year too, but man, what a disappointment for those guys.
Not a lot of offensive firepower on that team either. And last year, they were really good. In fact, they were the best team defensively, I believe, last year in the ASUN and
Mm-hmm.
really rode that to their success. And they were still solid defensively, but they just lacked the firepower offensively based off what I saw. So, yeah, disappointing. In fact, it's funny looking at the preseason media poll in the ASUN, and I forget what the order was, but 2, 3, 4 was Jacksonville, FGCU, Jacksonville State in some order. And so like not even in the ballpark. And then you had like Queens last and Stetson like 12th. So it was completely out of whack. But like, yeah, you thought year 2 with Coach Mentor as well, maybe you'd see some steady improvement. He was great there last season, but they just really struggled to score it.
The other team I was going to touch on before we moved on to the tournament was Jacksonville State.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of Liberty, Kennesaw State is very fortunate that team did not sneak in. I know Liberty handled business against them, but their last 3 games, they won at Central Arkansas by 30 points. And then they handled North Alabama with ease. I think North Alabama was missing their point guard Johnson. But
Okay, Jay. Yeah.
yeah, but Jacksonville State had a really heck of it, and they were only 1 game out of that final spot. So I think a lot of teams are very very fortunate there.
Yeah, and a player like Damari King that they have, he's one of those guys that can get hot and and carry a team in a game, 1 or 2 games like that. So yeah, I'm fine not seeing them in the postseason.
Yeah, definitely fortunate. Let's start off with the bracket here. Let's start off. I should have done this the other way, so we were doing your game first, but I just want to go in order.
That's all right.
Let's talk about Queens FGCU. for a second here. Ken Palm predicts this is going to be a heck of a game. 78-77 was their projected score. Matt, what do you think about this game? I mean, I have no idea who wins this game. I mean, I think FGCU wins, but
Yeah, I don't know either. I'll say this. You've got those veteran guards for Queens, and that's always important this time of year. Kenny Dye is a stud. And don't forget, this is a team that they were 31-4 a year ago. They went to the Sweet 16 of the D2 National Tournament. And I know people say, oh, that's Division II, whatever. But playing in big moments like that, like they're not going to be shaken. This isn't going to be too much for them playing in a postseason tournament situation like this. So it would not surprise me at all with those guards if they kind of settle things down. But at the same time, like they've kind of been limping into the postseason. They've been heading the wrong direction. I think they've lost 5 of 6. I want to say now heading in, the one win being the one that was maybe least likely on the road at Kennesaw State. But yeah, I'm with you. I think Florida Gulf Coast is going to pull it out. But man, like I think it will be a really good game. Like I said, it was a 2-point game when these two teams played earlier this year.
I think Mid-Major Madness tweeted it out. What an insane 9-10 game for a tournament. These are two very interesting teams to watch.
Yeah, and they both played a lot of close games. I mean, you look at Queens, those losses. I went back, I think it was like 5 or 6 losses were within like 2 or 3 possessions. You've had a bunch of really tight games with FGCU as well. And so if it comes down to that, I tend to lean more towards Queens because of those guards, like I said. And one kind of the sneaky stat, like they get to the line and they make more free throws more than anybody else in the conference. Dye and McKee are 1 and 2 in the conference in free throws made per game. And so that's something that now I know if they, don't call much, that could change things certainly. But I think those two guys, that could be a real factor in this game if they're able to continue to get to the line and they're a downhill team. If you just get one other guy, a McLaurin or somebody like that, knocking down a couple of shots, that could be enough for them to get by FGCU.
Will, your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, it seems like a coin flip to me. Queens had that big win at Kennesaw, so they might be feeling good about going back into that arena and playing Florida Gulf Coast, but I don't know. It just seems too close to call. I picked Queens on my bracket. I just thought maybe they would have a little bit of an edge after losing 2 straight games and going into the tournament and maybe play maybe a little bit more up.
Nothing would surprise me with this game.
No.
I think it's going to be close. Queens wins this game by 15. Wouldn't shock me. Florida Gulf Coast wins this game by 20. Wouldn't shock me. I could literally see anything happening. All right. To the game that Matt Warner is going to be calling with Naz tomorrow. Excited about this. North Florida, Bellarmine. North Florida is the favorite. North Florida just beat Bellarmine. Now, that was at North Florida. North Florida's been a very, very different team home and away. They have one of the more drastic splits. So not sure how they'll play on a neutral floor. Take it away. What's your thoughts on this one? I know you've been prepping on this all weekend.
Yeah, North Florida, they're scary a little bit. And because of the style they play, now they don't play much defense at all. But the style they play, and you've got some guys that can go out and get 30. Hendrickson, you guys have talked about, he has been way more efficient this season, has been much better this year than he has been the last couple of seasons. Plaster, he's gotten 30 multiple times in his career. He's a guy that I was looking today, he scored 3 straight years with UNF. He scored 14 points per game or more. Like just quietly kind of under the radar. He's really good. And then you add in Hicklin, who's another guy the Flames have seen. He's gotten hot against them before, another guy that can shoot it. Those are 3 offensive weapons that if any of them get it going, that's a dangerous team. They see 1 or 2 3 balls go down, and suddenly that changes things for them. And you look at Bellarmine, and while their system obviously they're very well coached, I just don't think they have the offensive firepower to keep up with North Florida. They certainly didn't in the last meeting here on Friday. But unless UNF just has some just dreadful kind of shooting night, I think they're going to just try to just flat out outscore them. And I think they have the firepower to do it. And then the scary part a little bit is, and again, I'm always on the negative side, trying to be like, oh no, what could go wrong? Then you get a team that's maybe feeling pretty good. They've had a night in your building. Maybe they had a good shooting night, probably would have if they get past Bellarmine. And now they're coming in playing, feeling like they're playing with house money against the Flames, and you never quite know. UNF has been a team that their style has given Liberty some trouble over the years, and Matt Driscoll is a good head coach. So that is a team that scares me just a little bit.
I feel like Bellarmine is honestly one of the better coaching jobs this season with Scott Davenport. I went to that first game in person that Liberty played, first conference game. I did not think this team would be in the tournament. That team, I don't think they have the talent level, but that system, it won them enough games. They played way better than I ever thought they were. So they are kind of a team I kind of feel like is also with house money, but you have all that experience of North Florida. I think they should win, but they shoot a million threes.
Yeah.
And if they go cold and not their building, Bella has the style to I don't think Bellarmine. I think Bellarmine's floor is a lot lower than, or a lot higher than North Florida. But I think North Florida's ceiling is way, way higher.
Right. Bellarmine's consistent, but they're not super talented. Yeah, absolutely. And so we'll see. And remember, like you say, the success they had last year, they won the conference tournament. Like the guys that were carrying that team, they're not on this team any longer. So it is going to be a lot of guys that haven't been in this situation with as much responsibility on their shoulders to this point in their careers. So it will be a little bit different. So yeah, I lean UNF in this one.
Will, any thoughts on this one?
Just second game in a row that they're playing against each other. It would have been interesting to see if they would have ended the season with the partner games and make this like a best out of three almost or something like that. But yeah, I don't know. Bellarmine went into halftime with the lead against North Florida, and North Florida just kind of overcame them. And I picked North Florida just because I think they're dangerous when they can shoot well. Everything that you guys just said. Bellarmine struggled in their last, 2 games. One on the road against Jacksonville, just barely squeaked by. And then at home against Central Arkansas, the worst team in the league. So, and they won by 1 point. So I went with North Florida, just thinking, hey, it's their time and they get to play Liberty.
I think you'd be silly not to pick North Florida. I just think like everything points to them, but I'm going to give you one conspiracy theory before we move on.
Let's hear it.
They played their last game. Scott Davenport's a smart guy. He knew like they could where I think they were playing the same thing as Queens, playing for home jerseys. Could Scott Davenport have held some things back?
He seems like that kind of like sneaky old guy that might try to pull one over on you. Yeah, I could see that.
Remember Duger? We'll never forget Duger doing that with VMI, right? Right, Will? In the tournament, they played the fastest tempo in the country.
And then they
came into Liberty and played as slow as they could. Threw everyone off. All right. Let's talk about Kennesaw and their opponent that we have no idea who will be. Yeah. Here's the projected scores. And this is not from KenPom. I don't have a way to do that. This is NCAA Sim. I did some research. I think it's fairly reliable. They predicted FGCU would win. So I definitely think if you're a Liberty fan, you root for Florida Gulf Coast. I know Queens just won there, but are they really going to go into that building and win twice? I don't see that. No. I think FGCU has the better chance.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And Queens caught them at a good time. Remember, they were coming off that emotional win over Liberty and a little bit of a letdown. So that was understandable there. But like they're not gonna get them entering with the same mindset again if they see them a second time. So I do think FGCU has the better shot at getting it them if they advance. And honestly, if they advance, I think it would be a heck of a ball game. I don't know. I think we're all putting so much on FGCU just because we see the players. It hasn't happened yet this year. Maybe we're the idiots for thinking that it can finally all come together here come tournament time. But man, like the talent is there, and I think they could give KSU some problems if they end up getting to that point.
No matter what way you go with FGCU, you're going to feel like an idiot.
Yeah,
that's how I felt with them all year. Will, I want to talk to you about Kennesaw for a second here. Kennesaw has never played in a conference championship game. They, under their coach, have never. I don't think they've made it to the semifinals.
I think
they only won. And the year before, I think they won a play-in game. I don't think it was a quarterfinal game. that to me, I just think everyone's put all this stock in. Oh, well, Liberty's going to play the championship on the road. Now, there's no guarantee Liberty makes it to the championship. Let's be very clear. I don't know. Is Kennesaw really going to go and win 2 games?
Well, I don't think so. I did not pick them to get past. I picked them to beat Queens, and then I picked them to lose in the next game, just because they have a good team, but they've never been this far. So you start to wonder, what kind of inexperience and nervousness plays into that. So I don't know. I don't think that they get past the next round after this one. If they play FGCU, I think FGCU knocks them off in this round.
Matt, I'm putting you.
Yeah, remember too, like Kennesaw State has played so many really tight ball games. I know we've said that about a couple of teams, but they've come out on the winning side, right? You think about those 2 games to Jacksonville State, who's not even playing in the postseason, and they could have lost either one of those. They have played a lot of tight games, and you look at it 2 ways. You say, okay, well, then they have that experience in the close games and they know how to finish. Or you look at the other way and say, like, statistically, it's hard to keep winning games like that are 1 and 2 possession games in the final second. Like, it's hard to keep doing that. They're due to drop one. It's due to kind of come back to earth a little bit. So yeah, that's where the fear a little bit would be for me. And you said it too, like they're used to being the underdog. They're used to being the scrappy, like young team that's like just trying to improve each year. Now they've got the target on their back. Now they're the number one. They are expected to handle their business. That is a different feeling. That is a different scenario than they've ever been in before. And so it'll be interesting to see. And honestly, like the first 4 to 6 minutes of that game, I'll be really interested to watch whoever they're playing, because like how tight are they? How tight do they come out, knowing all that they know about being the favorite and all that? What do they look like in that first, 4 to 6 minutes? That'll tell me a lot, I feel like, in that ballgame.
Shot quality, one of my favorite stats to look at. I think it's one of the best analytical tools that's kind of up and coming. Kennesaw State, their actual record's 20-8. Shot quality says they should be 17-11. So are they due for some regression? Now, look, none of that really matters. These are one-game situations. I'm going to put you guys both on the spot. If you had to go one way or the other, does Kennesaw make the championship? Will? If it's one way or the other.
I don't think so, for the exact reason that you pointed out and Matt just pointed out. I feel like the law of averages catches up, and some of those close games don't go their way. So I say no.
This is tough. I think if FGCU doesn't win that first game against Queens, I think Kennesaw State makes it to the championship.
Yeah. I think it's close. I think it's a 50-50 shot, but I would lean they won't. I think there's enough things that could trip them up, and it's close. It's close. I could really, but I think people think it's 75-25. I think it's much closer to 50-50.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
All right, let's move on. Stetson Lipscomb. This is a fun game. They played some good games this year. They played I think it was the first game of the year they played each other, went into overtime. Stetson had a crazy comeback in that game. Stetson 4-point favorite. Stetson's had some injuries, though. Not sure their health status coming to this game. Stetson, a great story. The best offense in the ASUN, offensive efficiency, which is wild. Stetson, they're never been known for offense. They've been known more as a defensive juggernaut. Man, Lipscomb has that experience, but I really like Stetson. I went back and forth on this one.
Yeah, this is another tough one, and this is another one where I have a hard time shaking what I saw with my own eyes when they were here at Liberty. I know, again, it's always hard to compare when they're going up against a really good Liberty team. But, man, like Blackman, heck of a player, had a tough night here against LU. They have some talent around him. But I'm with you, and I lean with Lenny Acuff, Lipscomb. Your Pruitt is just a gamer. Like, that kid, like, you want to go to war with him. Asajla is a shell of himself, but does the old fighter pick himself up off the mat, one more time and just have one last go at it? I would tend to lean towards Lipscomb winning this in a close one, just because, again, they've had some success in the postseason, and kind of like Kennesaw State, it's been a few years since Stetson really had a lot of success in the ASUN tournament, and great story and all of that during the regular season. But now it's different. And now how will they handle that? I think Lipscomb ends up winning a close one.
Will?
Yeah, I went with Stetson as well. Kind of the opposite of Kennesaw State. Kennesaw State's coming out on the winning end of some close games. Stetson has come out on the losing end of some close games. They haven't really been blown out. 2 blowouts, one to Liberty and the other one to Eastern Kentucky. But I think that was a little bit closer than what the score indicated. They went into that game really down at halftime and came back and make it halfway of a game. So I went with Stetson. I don't feel like Lipscomb at this point really has that talent like they have in years past that can propel them towards the championship.
Two teams that are both playing well. Stetson is 6-2 in their last 8. Lipscomb is 6-2, or no, 8-2 in their last 10. Both teams are 8-2 in their last 10. Both games they played this season went to overtime. In the last game of the season, Lipscomb won at home in overtime. Man, I don't know. Stetson 9th in the country in 3-point shooting. It's a fun game. I can't wait for this game. I'm leaning Stetson though.
This tournament, doesn't it feel better than anything we've had in the last few years? Like just in terms of like just up and down. It's not like there's this huge gap at the top. You feel like really after. Gosh, I mean, look at all these games. You can make a case for any of them to go one way or the other. This is as good as it's been in the ASUN.
Yeah, good comment here about Swinson. He did not play in the last game. He is their best player, leading scorer, super efficient player. So if he's not playing, definitely would take Lipscomb.
That'd be a huge loss. Yeah.
But could this also be one of these things where he was a little banged up? We're gonna sit him out this last game.
Yeah.
Not gonna. I think they locked up at least a home game. So who knows? But yeah, excited about this one. All right. The Liberty Flames. Here's the projected scores. I was surprised at this. It says Bellarmine would be closer.
Yeah.
Everything points to Bellarmine being the easier matchup for Liberty. I saw with my own eyes in person them dominate. They dominated at Liberty Arena, but I can't shake this playing a team 3 times feeling. Like you always hear that third time you're playing someone that's what makes me nervous. I know North Florida has has some of the more experience, and of course they could shoot the lights out, but North Florida's also never won at Liberty Arena. So I think there's a good matchup either way for Liberty. Like if you could have handpicked just about any of the teams around here, I probably would have picked these two. So like I don't want to be complaining about either one of them. Not saying that either one of them is not capable of coming in and getting a win, but I do feel like both these are good matchups for Liberty.
Right. Like think of it this way. Would you rather have the option of playing these two teams or be the 1 seed and have FGCU or Queens? Like I feel better about where Liberty's at with their draw. If I'm a Liberty fan, I feel like I root for Bellarmine to win that first game over UNF because, again, they just have more firepower. And, well, yeah, Bellarmine hasn't, the whole, like, it's tough to be a team 3 times. Like, think about the motivation, though, as well for the Flames. That's a Bellarmine team that ended your season last year and killed the dream of going 4 for 4. So, like, I don't think – throw out the tough to be a team 3 times and like all that's out. Like the motivation is there. They, the Flames, they want to end Bellarmine's season and send them home disappointed. So I don't think that would be any kind of issue. I think they would be highly motivated, and I think the Flames would take care of business. Again, I think the more scary matchup is North Florida because they've got some guys that can go out there and get some buckets.
You sold me, Matt. I'll be wearing my Bellarmine hat tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm with you. I want Bellarmine to win. I don't think they will. I think North Florida wins, but I think Liberty could beat Bellarmine by 14. I think Liberty could beat North Florida, but not by 17 points. I feel like that's a large spread for the semifinal game.
That's a team that I can see Liberty beaten by 20 or beaten by 2. North Florida, like you said, Nick, high ceiling, low floor. You don't quite know, but they are scary.
I feel like, though, a 20-point win against North Florida is probably like a 13-point win against Bellarmine, just because Bellarmine plays so much slower. So I think that's also into that 82 and 77. They're not equal. So yeah, I'm fascinated for this. I'm sold. I'm sold. I'm sold.
Yeah.
I'm rooting for good old Bellarmine. Yeah, let's get it. Let's bring him in. Let's end their season.
Yeah.
Since Scott Davenport packing. All
That's
right.
right.
Another good one. Eastern Kentucky, North Alabama. North Alabama was the darling. They were in position for the 3 seed, and then just completely had an awful week. They got destroyed by Kennesaw in a game that I think we thought would be competitive, and then they got destroyed by Jacksonville State. Both games were at home. Again, I know they were missing KJ Johnson for both of those games, but this is it. Outside of Liberty, this is probably the game that I feel the most confident. I think EKU is going to roll. I think EKU is so much more talented. I think North Alabama had a great season. I think this is time where EKU steps up and just I think they win this game comfortably.
And do we know KJ Johnson's status going in? And do you know anything? Because that is a huge, like, he's a guy that kind of makes them go, big energy guy, and he'd actually been playing the best basketball of his career probably since his freshman year at Lipscomb. So that's a huge loss if they don't have him. Even if they do, I'm with you. I lean towards Eastern Kentucky. We know how difficult it is to play there. Flames fans know that well. They are good at home. They shoot it well. Blanton is just a monster. Like, that kid, watching him here in Lynchburg, that kid is just so tough. And they've got some decent shooters around him. Cozart in the middle as well. Like, I'm with you. I think EKU probably wins this one comfortably.
Well,
yeah, I went with EKU as well for all those same reasons.
All right, let's go back to the bracket here and just kind of give some final thoughts on how we might see things play out. Important thing to remember, and I've stressed this all year because it's so easy to forget, it is reseeded.
Yeah.
So let's say Florida Gulf Coast knocks off Kennesaw and Liberty is fortunate enough to advance. Liberty plays Florida Gulf Coast in the next game, not EKU. So really, I wouldn't even look much farther than these quarterfinal games because we have no idea what's going to happen. Matt, I just feel like the way this season has gone, there has got to be some sort of chaos in this tournament.
Yeah, I mean, you're probably right. And I know we're all kind of leaning on FGCU to help provide that. But yeah, it has been on a night-to-night basis. It just feels like you never know. It does feel like, though, that home court has been so critical throughout the year as well. So we'll see if that holds true here in the postseason. Like, honestly, personally, as much as I would hate for Liberty to have to go on the road for the championship game, I want to see the Flames get another crack at Kennesaw State. I want to see them get an opportunity to go and get them a second time and try to kind of make up for the way that one went. So for me, that would be the ideal situation. Although I would obviously much rather be at the game and see it with my own eyes here at Liberty Arena.
Well, you brought out the research of the decade that they're on spring break.
Yeah.
Matt, I think there'll be more Liberty fans there.
There could well be. Yeah, their spring break starts like on Friday before the Sunday championship game. So yeah, that would be really, really interesting to see just what that environment was like. Obviously, it was nuts when Liberty was there, but the next game against Queens, it was dead. Like, it was complete. So like the bandwagon, they was rolling for one night. It kind of got off the tracks after that. So without students really being involved, yeah, I don't think it would be nearly the type of hostile environment the Flames saw earlier this year. And even if it was, to tell you the truth, like, I think this is a team that they wouldn't mind that. They wouldn't mind going in there in that type of environment again, just to get another crack at the Owls.
Matt, any final thoughts before we get you out of here? Man, just so looking forward to this tournament, and man,
well, I'd be interested to get your thoughts on this, Nick, because you are the stat savant, the analytics guru that we all turn to. That kind of talk me off the ledge here a little bit, because the one concern I have for Liberty heading into the postseason, we think of them as being such a great shooting team, but really in ASUN play, shooting the 3 ball, they have not been nearly as good as they were earlier in the year. They're 5th in the ASUN made threes. They're 9th in the ASUN in 3-point percentage in conference play. Should I be concerned? Why or why not should that concern me, Nick Kirby?
I mean, as long as they play as the 42nd best defensive team in the country that they've been all year, I'm not as concerned about that.
Okay.
I mean, their defense is the key because I think they will have one bad shooting game, assuming you go through all 3 of these. The odds are they'll probably have one bad game. If Liberty plays their best brand of basketball on the defensive end, I think they're as close to unbeatable as about you can get in this league. And then, I mean, Darius McGee's 10th in the country in the Ken Pom Player of the Year.
Yeah.
You've got the 10th best player in the country in this tournament. His last go around. I know he's so humble. I think he's going to go insane. Yeah. And he had that. I honestly, I think it was.
He got it out of his system at the right time.
I think it was a.
You hope.
I think it was a blessing that he had that bad senior night, bad 18-point senior night for Darius's standards. I think he's going to be on SportsCenter for one of these games. I think he might put up a 50 burger. I'm going to say it.
Okay.
Give me North Florida. That would be the team who put up a 50
Let's do
burger.
it. I was going to say, I hope it's the quarterfinal or semifinal so we can be on the call for that. Yeah, that would be fantastic.
Yeah. Well, Matt, thank you so much. We appreciate it. You are the man.
Thanks,
hopefully, maybe we can drag you back on here again as we preview an NCAA tournament or something like that. That'd be awesome.
That would be awesome. Let's do it.
All right, Matt. Have a great night, buddy.
Yep. See you guys.
All right. We're going to have a quick word from our sponsor, Ironclad Coffee, and then the man coming to collect his hardware.
Virginia's best and most flames-friendly coffee comes from Ironclad Coffee Roasters. Ironclad roasts and serves up their beautiful beans at 2 cafes in Richmond, but you can enjoy their crafted roasted specialty beans from anywhere in the country by visiting www.ironcladcoffee.com. Place your order there, and it'll be roasted to your order and shipped out directly to your doorstep.
Whenever you find yourself in the Commonwealth, pay them a visit at their 2 cafes in the Richmond area. Ironclad's owners, the O'Rourke family, are proud Flames Club members and are pleased to sponsor these podcasts by Sea Red. Hop on over to their website at www.ironcladcoffee.com now to get Virginia's best specialty coffee headed your way.